From working in every inch of the animation industry to creating one of the best Disney Channel cartoons of all time, Daron Nefcy has done it all. So grab your magic wands and put on your favorite red hoodie because I'm RetroNemo and this is Greenlit. Welcome back to Greenlit, the only animated biography series that's not just a cheap ploy to get the creator of a show to notice me. Ha 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 ha. But enough jokes, because today we're talking about one of the sweetest faces in animation, Daron Nefcy. You may have seen her show, the gift to animation that is Star vs. the Forces of Evil. This Disney Channel gem follows the young princess in training Star Butterfly, who's sent to live on Earth with her teenage protector Marco. As she spends time figuring out what being a magical princess is all about, the two have to fight off a legion of monsters and enemies, all trying to get her magical wand. Now that's just the thumbnail recap of the series. The actual show is so much more complicated, interesting, and complex than that. So if you are watching this and somehow haven't seen Star, then please get on it. Please. Do yourself a favor, just watch this show. But we're not here to talk about just Star. We're gonna take a look at Daron's whole body of work, and she's done quite a lot. So let's take it back all the way to the beginning. Daron was raised in Los Angeles, California. Born in November 8th, 1985, she was the daughter of Jay Nefcy, a successful cinematographer, known for his work in movies like The Truman Show. Funny how he was originally from Detroit. I wonder who else is from Michigan. Daron wasn't much for high school. In an interview with Polygon, she said, "I was not crazy about high school. I graduated early because I really wanted to get out of there. And it's funny because when I was in middle school, my friends and I created a comic about what we thought high school was like. Kids were driving and running around in shopping carts and doing lots of fun stuff. Then I got to high school and it wasn't fun at all." Despite her not liking high school, Daron was being herself, saying, "I used to go to high school in a 1930s top hat that my mom got at a garage sale. And I had a skirt that I sewed a bunch of stuffed animals on. I just didn't care." This attitude seemed to work in her favor as she ended up going to the king of animation schools, CalArts. Okay boys, added to that long list of names of people with cartoons who've gone to CalArts. That's okay. The list of heaven is probably just as long. Oh, never mind. Her time at CalArts was well spent. Nefcy ended up making 3 original student films while attending the school, the first of which was called Scissors. It followed a poor girl who was forced to work in a boring factory making clothes. However, much to her amazement, she finds her imagination kicking in, and soon color and nature beautifully grows all around her, tearing her away from her boring world that she's stuck in. But soon, her boss snaps her out of the daydream and points to the door, presumably to fire her. But now that she's seen creativity, she's happy to leave. It makes me want to quit my job. Any Star fan might notice the whole concept of the scissors breaking into another world was used prominently in Star vs. the Force of Evil. You know, the dimensional scissors? It's interesting to see work from her early days showing up in what she's doing now. Her next student film is my personal favorite, Death by Blonde. In this short, a man chases down his kidnapped wife from a mysterious figure. He tracks her down only to realize that the figure was a she. Then she seduces the man and he takes the bait. The wife gets rightfully pissed and breaks free, only to punch her probably soon ex-husband. This short is super artsy, with everything happening in frames of parts of the screen. It's super pretty to look at. Nefcy's third and final short film was the cutest. Fern and Izzy follows the adventures of a cute little girl and her pet iguana as they sneak into a nightclub. She gets caught and brought home by a nice neighbor who tells her to just stay a kid. It's a simple but cute story that makes you smile. With a CalArts degree and 3 great student films under her belt, it was time for Nefcy to finally break her way into the animation industry. And one of her first starts in the exciting world of animation was at Cartoon Network Studios on a little known show called Mad. If you don't remember, Mad was a Cartoon Network sketch show of sorts, based off of the popular Mad magazine. They focused heavily on parody, with sketches like Avenger Time and Spy vs. Spy Kids. It was mostly hit or miss, at least for me, although some of the parodies made me giggle. Nefcy would work on Mad as a designer in 2010. It's crazy to think that after all of this, she started out on Cartoon Network before moving to the House of Mouse. How things change. What else did she do in 2010? She was a character designer in the iconic movie Elle, A Modern Cinderella Story. Now, this is a live-action movie, so either IMDb is very wrong or she worked on the animated opening segment. Although seeing her affiliation with princesses, I don't think this one's too far-fetched. Not gonna lie, I didn't watch this movie. I don't really know what it's about, but I don't even think she worked on it, so. Also in 2010, Nefcy married writer and director Bobby Miller. They're still happily married to this day. And in 2018, Bobby released a nude photo art book. Okay, yeah, cool art. Their marriage led to Nefcy's next job in the animation department of Bobby's own television venture, That Movie Show, in 2011. It was basically a satirical jab at the movie industry and entertainment industry overall at that time, featuring a lot of interviews with prominent directors and people in the industry. It's kind of hard to describe, so I'd recommend just watching it on MTV's website. She also got got many appearances on the YouTube channel Soul Pancake, where Bobby also worked for a while. If you remember, that's like the Kid President channel. Daron kept trucking onwards onto 2012, when she worked on 2 separate network shows. The first was Nickelodeon's Robot and Monster, which means she pretty much worked at every network. The show revolved around the dynamic of a serious robot and a goofy monster working together in a blinking light factory, which sounds like something out of the late days of communism, but ends up being a pretty happy show. It was a cute cartoon, don't go into it looking for star levels of storytelling, probably just meant for kids. The latter show, however, finally landed her on the Disney Channel. Daron worked as a storyboard revisionist on the Craig McCracken cartoon Wander Over Yonder. This is where she was finally able to get her foot in the door and make her current magnum opus, Star vs. the Forces of Evil. She worked on Wander Over Yonder for a few years, before leaving presumably to work on Star. But what is Star? Oh, what is this show that I keep talking about? Let me explain. Star vs. the Forces of Evil is definitely what Nefcy is most known for at this point. However, it didn't start out that way. It actually started out as a webcomic. And in the comic, Star wasn't really a magical princess from Muni. She was a crazy 5th grader who believed she had magical superpowers and acted like she was a princess, much to the confusion of the kids around her. There was no Marco. Instead, Star herself was protecting a little kid whose bike got stolen. It was a legitimately funny webcomic, and the dynamic of a girl believing she's a princess helping a kid who doesn't even want the help and thinks that she's crazy is just really funny. But sadly, there's only a few pages out there, released by Nefcy herself. She had to stop working on the webcomic, mainly to, pitch the show to Disney. This quote from her really sums up the whole thing. I created Star in my 3rd year of college, the original concept of it, and of course it changed and morphed over time, but she's always been who she is. And I was obsessed with Sailor Moon. When I was a kid, I really didn't want anything more than to be a magical Sailor Moon type character, and I kept thinking I would come home and my cat would start talking. I really convinced myself of this. So Star's original character was this girl who wanted to be Sailor Moon, and the Marco character was obsessed with Dragon Ball Z. They were going to be enemies. I had come up with this whole show where Star didn't really have any magical powers, but she would just make things happen by her own will of just wanting them to happen. Then I brought it over to Disney, and one of the executives said, what if her magic powers were real? And I sort of sat on that and came up with a concept as it is now. Despite its success with Disney, the original pitch was to Cartoon Network in her 3rd year of college, like she said. It really developed over the 6 years before finally getting the green light from Disney, and soon after years of working on other shows in the industry, Daron was at the helm of her very own show. After a few years in development, on January 18th, 2015, Star vs. the Forces of Evil premiered on Disney XD. The final conception of the series followed Star Butterfly, a magical princess of Muni and heir to the magical family wand. When she turns 14, she finally gets her hand on it, but then immediately causes chaos. Because of this, she's sent to live in the safe dimension, Earth, until she can learn to use her powers. Marco Diaz is a normal kid looking for a little action in his life, and he ends up taking in Star and acting as her protector on Earth. Star must learn to use her powers, adjust to life on Earth, and fight off the forces of evil that try to get her wand. Now, this is really just a bare bones description. I mean, the real show, like I said in the beginning, is so much more in depth and intense and interesting and real and emotional and incredible and I love this show. The pilot garnered over 2 million viewers, a great start for the series, and it wasn't too long before Star really started to find its footing, as a fan base grew around it. Star has a huge online presence now, standing up with the greats like Gravity Falls and Steven Universe. And being on its 3rd and best season, the show is only getting bigger and better with time. And Daron is taking this success in strides, chalking up to being one of the best creators to her fans ever. Not only is she super interactive with fans on social media, but she's just super active with the community online as a whole. She even included a fan design outfit on the show and made a real life version for herself, then FaceTime the person who made it to show him. If that's not a compassionate and dedicated creator, then I don't know what is. Just show me the door at that point. I'm done. But overall, guys, Daron Nefcy is a powerhouse of animation. A compassionate and dedicated animator, Daron worked behind the scenes on a lot of shows. She has tons of genuine experience in the industry, and when she finally worked up to getting her own show, it blossomed into one of the genuinely best animated shows on TV right now. And when Star eventually wraps up, it deserves a serious spot in the Hall of Fame. It doesn't seem like Daron's anywhere near done in the world of animation. Thanks for watching Greenlit, guys. If you know any of these things that I talked about in this episode of Greenlit, then let us know in those comments down below. We want to talk to you guys. We want to have a conversation. If you can't get enough of the Roundtable, you can check us out at Roundtable Vids with our Instagram and Facebook under the same name, and Roundtable YT for our Snapchat. If you want to help out the Roundtable, you can consider supporting us on Patreon. There you can get exclusive access to scripts and avatars, and even have your name at the end of the video, like all these beautiful people here. And if you pay a little bit more money, you can get a shout out at the end of the month. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it. Maybe Daron Nefcy's gonna see this. Oh god, I hope so. She's great. And as always, guys, I'm RetroNemo, and I'll see you guys next time.